It was a crime that was another one in our history books. The assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. Welcome back to our second half of Give Me a Break. If you were around, if you were around on the day of April 4th, 1968, you knew that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And you believe that the killer was one James Earl Ray. But the story doesn't add up. The killer was not James Earl Ray. He was not James Earl Ray, but he was set up by a man named Raoul. According to the Washington Post, it was a guy named Raoul. I mean, thinking, who the hell is Raoul? It was like a Mexican, part Mexican. It's a man named Raoul. John Ray with smuggling operation, blood on the Mustang, and then this was historical blindness. And they probably played a podcast.
Before we begin, I want to thank the show's newest patron.
So now we know who the killer was. And if you want to see that Primetime Live episode about the about what happened, there'll be a link in the description below, as well as up top. So that is the basics of that story. So why was he charged then? I mean, it's been about years. I mean, this was a 2-page thing from the Washington Post. And Lloyd Jowers was on Primetime Live for what happened. He paid someone to do it. The shot was like 100 feet away. I'm not going to play the video, but there are some key elements to this story. But Ray learned of a $50,000 bounty by late 1996 or 1967. Ray's brothers denied any involvement in the King's assassination. Could have also heard about the bounty passed on the news to James on April 23rd. But Ray broke out of prison. That was the rifle that killed Martin Luther King. And this is from the Washington Post. Is Killing the Dream, James Earl Ray, and the Assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. But if he's the one that pulled the trigger, shouldn't he be incarcerated? But if you watched the original one from back in 1993, you would have heard that they agreed to take lie detector test. The penalty, 99 years in imprisonment. 1 year was added for his recapture. That's total 100 years. So he picked up the gun. The paper reported King's plan to return to Trent, Memphis was April 1st, 1968. April 2nd, Ray packed a bag and moved to Memphis. But in 1997, which was 11 years before the assassination, Ray 6 of the convicts escaped the Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary in Tennessee with a recapture on June 13th. A year added to Ray's previous sentence, increasing 100 years. But Ray died at age 70 on April 23rd, 1988 at the hospital. If he didn't die, we would find out who. So that's the story about Martin Luther King and the killer. You may have different opinions whether Raul did it or Raul set James up. We will never know. History repeats itself. When we come back, COVID-19, the Omicron sped, and lots of other topics. Let's begin with COVID. Let's start now with COVID. 5.55 million plus 68,000. 77,519 deaths plus 3. We're almost at 75,708 deaths in Nueces County with over 1,300 deaths. 32.4% test. 4% of people have been positive. 2.3 million tests have been taken, and 754,000, almost at 755,000 positive tests. Hospitalizations. 25,000 people in ICU, and 146,000 people are hospitalized. Vaccinations. 19.7 million have had at least one dose, and 16.7 million have been fully vaccinated, which is good. Now, how about from today, which was yesterday? There's nothing. Okay, so which is good because it's a holiday. If you're a holiday, then that spreadsheet doesn't change. It's a staff holiday. Staff holiday means that no staff member cannot go to school. I always tell people every day, masks. It's extremely important, very important that you wear your mask. If you go to school wearing a mask, then because the basketball day is tough. But again, masks are very important when fighting this thing, and especially this Omicron variant. So what you need to do, this may not work, but I'm thinking about investing in N95. So masks need to go like this. Can't wear it like this, nor like this. I know it's tough, but you need to. You gotta make sure that you follow that rule. Social distance, 6 or more feet. If you're vaccinated, then you still gotta wear a mask. If you got COVID, you need to let them know that your family member has COVID, or someone else you know it, or you have COVID, blah 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 blah, and then they'll tell you stay home for 5 days. You could infect us all, blah 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 blah, and yet after the 5th day, you need to be tested. If you're a negative test, you get that piece of paper, send it over to your boss, and you can go back to your regular schedule. I knew what that was like, but I'm not going to share my experience of what happened. Wash your hands. Very important. Hot water. Scrub really, really good with soap. really good. 20 seconds in hot water. Hot or warm water, doesn't matter. Because when you wash your hands, you're killing you're stopping the spread of germs. Also, if you're under 2, no masks. If you're running transportation, if you're riding an airplane, you need to make sure you're masking up. If you have a medical condition, I can tell you wear your mask, but don't fight them. Don't argue with them. Just basically like follow the order. And if you need some, then they'll give it to you. Like if you need water because you're a medical condition, then they'll give you water. If you're I'm not sure. So that's the latest on COVID. Yesterday was Maury's birthday. Happy birthday, Maury. You are not the father.
Hey!
But we learned another school has closed for the whole week because of COVID. So here's what happened.
Another South Texas school district closing their doors following the surge in COVID-19 cases. Skidmore Tynan ISD will be closing for the rest of the week. The superintendent for the district says the closure is because of staffing shortages as teachers continue to test positive with COVID-19 and a lack of substitutes. The district hopes to resume regular in-person classes on Monday.
What? What? A lack of what? A lack of substitutes? That local no black. That local lack of substitutes. No black. That's a George Lopez joke. What do I think about this one? No. 2 words. Get vaccinated. How hard is it? If you're positive after the 5th day, you need to get yourself vaccinated. Follow this advice. I guess just tell my boss. Your advice worked great. I tested negative and just telling us your advice worked great. Teachers need to take your advice one day. But just walk up to the teacher and say, hey, if you're one of your staff members testing it, if one of your comes in contact with COVID and you tell them to stay home for 5 days, and after the 5th day, go get tested and bring back the negative test. What if you test positive? You still gotta continue to quarantine until you get that negative test. If you're vaccinated, then you should, and what more work? The lack of substitute teachers. This is the whole reason. Probably the whole reason why truancy was on the rise, and everyone else is under the same boat last year. That was the whole exact reason why these people are basically not ready to go back to class. Teachers, on the other hand, they're saying they're quitting their jobs because they're afraid. When you do that, you're shutting down the schools, and yet all you're doing is saying, I don't care. You may look at me and say, I don't care. You may not care, but I do. I care about what goes on. I care. I really care. I care what goes on. I care that I got vaccinated. You may sit there and go, I don't care what the rules say. I'm not getting positive tests, therefore I'm going to resign. That's outrageous. Unacceptable, and will not be tolerated. When we come back, exactly 1 year ago, during the pandemic, cases of truancy were on the rise. Noah Perez will talk with Judge Joe Benavides about this issue. Then Priscilla Torres will look into truancy night that happened back in 2018. After this, it's now been a month since the Oxford shooting, but there was the final victim of that shooting who was discharged from the hospital. Her name was Kylie Osage. On her way to completing the inpatient, she got a clap out from the healthcare professionals. 1 week at home, her mother reported to her GoFundMe page about the adjustment has begun. She was one of 7 others shot, including 1 teacher. The other 6 have been released weeks before Kylie was discharged. So 6 out of 7. So now that was 7 people who were released. Now to truancy. Back in 2018, it's been a problem, and now last year since the pandemic, it's been on the rise. It's particularly bad because of the pandemic. So what are our local judges to do? Here's Nora Perez.
Challenge.
So again, what is the big problem here? What can our local judges do? Here's Nora Perez.
I've spoken to quite a few judges throughout Texas. We have over 1,000 truancy judges, and they're in the same boat.
Judge Joe Benavides talking about truancy cases and how they've risen during the pandemic. One cause, issues with students and parents keeping up with assignments while doing online classes. Parents say sometimes their kids are being counted absent when they've simply failed to turn in work by a certain time.
That's an issue.
Judge Benavides says he's heard many stories of families who are at the breaking point, dealing with job loss, illness, loss of childcare, and other issues that have been severely disruptive to their children's education.
There's teenagers working at Whataburger, working at Burger King, working at McDonald's. These kids are working because they're trying to help mom or dad pay the bills. You know, these are cases and cases of evictions right here and debt claims. It's really getting really bad. Parents on my side are struggling a lot.
Judge Thelma Rodriguez, who also hears truancy cases for CCISD and other districts in the area, says she and her fellow justices are handling these cases a little differently now, trying to help families who are struggling.
Mostly all doing deferred orders, which is like a probation period, and it's for counseling services to get with the students, virtual counseling services.
Both judges say they are trying to find nonprofit organizations, grants, and other community programs to help these families, most of whom are trying their best to see to their children's education in these extraordinary conditions.
We're not here to argue the child should be in school, the parent should be behind the iPad with the child. We're just trying to find solutions.
Nora Perez, 3 News.
And that was back in 2020. Yeah, during this Omicron variant, there are lots of teachers in there, lots of students are leaving. But back in 2018, long before the pandemic, there was a night court. The whole reason for this was because the parents weren't at work and the kids were in school. Here's Priscilla Torres.
Truancy.
So is this thing working? Or isn't it? It probably isn't. Here's Priscilla Torres.
Courtroom and waiting area because of work, and truancy night court is his way to fix that. A full courtroom and waiting area as parents and their teen listen for their name to be called by Judge Joe Benavides.
16 years old. Today she has 324.
Actually, 358 unexcused class periods.
Teen after teen, ranging in ages from 14 to 17 years old, Judge Benavides heard each case, asking the teen why they've been missing so much school.
Who takes you to school?
My dad and my stepmom and my grandma.
So why are you late? Why are you tardy and stuff like that?
I just don't like to go to school.
He also asked the parents what they're doing to get their kids back on track.
Dad, you got anything to say?
There's a school, sir. She chooses to go late, skip, and we try talking to her. We've done so much, and she just continues to do this on her own.
Hold on. This is the key word here. I try to do this. I try to do that. I tried everything. You haven't tried shit. All you've done is just let it slide. You've got to find that button and push it. Take away their cell phone. Take away their internet. Take away their things. Corporal punishment is not enough.
Judge Benavides says he's found truancy issues stem from being bullied in school, drugs, peer pressure, and gang-related activities. And tonight, by speaking to the parents and their teen, he hopes to have the teen return to school, get their GED, or graduate.
So you come back and tell me, look, Judge, I did everything, so I'll reconsider everything else, you understand? But you got to follow the note, you understand? The court order.
So how's that changed? Well, it didn't change because probably the kids were skipping class. But is there another alternative to this? How about arresting parents for truancy? We've heard from the doctors and from an expert, but back in 2008, there were nearly 40 parents arrested in Sacramento, California because they refused to send their kid to school. Watch.
Their children didn't show up to class, so the parents ended up in handcuffs. Local law enforcement hopes it sends a strong message to parents to get involved in their child's lives. Well, tonight, KCRA 3's Leticia Ordaz spoke with some mothers who spent the day behind bars.
My son is in a charter school program, and they still arrested me.
Tonight, this mother who would not give us her name was released after spending the entire day locked up at the Sacramento County Jail.
How did you feel, though, to be arrested today? It's degrading, it's humiliating, it's harassment.
Today, 100 officers throughout Sacramento joined forces with the district attorney's office to arrest nearly 40 parents who had warrants for not sending their children to school.
The importance is that we want to get a message to the parents that you need to send your kids to school every day and be on time every day. We want to get those kids educated so they don't fall in the cracks, they don't get in trouble with the law.
It's a message this parent got quickly. When she was released from jail this evening, she was too upset to talk. Her brother Richard, who would only give us his first name, told us the truancy sweep targeting parents was unfair and humiliating.
Oh, I'm not happy because I feel it was a waste of time. I feel that they could have spent this time going after criminals, looking for a child, not doing a truancy sweep.
See the hoods that they're wearing. Obviously, they know the school has cameras.
Vince Matrenga is the police chief for the Sacramento City Schools. He can only hope this sweep will get more students in the classroom during school hours and fewer teens destroying school property after hours.
When kids don't go to school, everyone loses.
Many parents are bailing out of jail tonight, but one mother who's been arrested before will have to stay here for 45 days. In Sacramento, Leticia Ordaz, KCRA 3 reports.
A day in jail because that's a good punishment. But 30 months in jail, that happened in freaking Indiana. Parents were slapped for felony charges. But the message is, oh, I can skip school and get mom and dad in jail? Take a look at another one.
Not sending their kids to school could send one couple to jail. Investigators have been on the family's tail for 18 months because their kids are chronically truant. Well, today they finally caught up with them. Action 7 News reporter Amber Lee explains how Los Lunas schools are trying to crack down on truancy and hold parents accountable.
2 parents, 3 children, one big problem.
We're talking about elementary kids who parents choose not to get their kids to school. That's really the responsibility of the parents to make sure that happens.
Investigators say Katrina and Emilio Chavez face charges because they haven't been sending their 3 kids to school.
It's a frustrating situation because we're in the battle of trying to educate kids.
The Los Lunas School District says if a child misses 10 days of school, a criminal hearing is set. The district says the Chavezes never showed up to theirs.
And in failing to appear, it led us to a second offense, which is a pattern of truancy violations.
School administrators say for nearly 2 years they have been trying to get a hold of the Chavezes. During that time, the couple moved from Los Lunas to Albuquerque. Investigators say early Tuesday morning, parents Katrina and Emilio Chavez were picked up right here at their southwest Albuquerque home and then taken to Valencia County Jail. Action 7 News was told family members were watching the kids, but the family refused to talk to us.
Is there some sort of explanation about the truancy, the kids not going to school?
I'm sorry, but you guys don't need to know that information.
APS says all 3 kids, 1 4th grader and 2 6th graders, are enrolled in the district but could not comment further on the case. School administrators do tell us they've been notified and are monitoring the students' attendance. In Southwest Albuquerque, Amber Lee, KOAT, Action 7 News.
The parents were released on their own recognizance after a hearing in Valencia.
And one more.
A crackdown on parents who don't send their kids to school.
Hey, police!
Our cameras were rolling as several parents were put into handcuffs.
Can you get that camera on my face?
I hope they learn their lesson, I feel bad for the kids.
A judge gave those parents several chances, but they failed to follow directions.
Y'all
Today's
got several
truancy
chances,
sweep is
but
all
y'all
part of the Start
failed.
Right program. Elise Coulter was there when police went on doors knocking.
Authorities arrested 7 parents who now sit in the Montgomery County Jail here behind me, but it wasn't easy to get a hold of them.
We've been trying to work with them with regards to their attendance, their children's attendance. The problem is that they don't show up for court.
And because of that, Dayton police cruisers took to the streets to find the negligent parents. One of the first stops proved to be difficult. After several minutes, officers finally got the mother out of the house.
Can you get that camera on my face?
And into the waiting sheriff's van. Her 3 kids who were supposed to be in school were home and sent to a neighbor's house.
It's their responsibility to get their kids to school.
Neighbors standing by don't sympathize.
I'm not with my little girl right now, so it kind of upsets me that, they're with their kids and, that they're not taking the opportunity to take them to school and stuff and to raise them right, because I would give anything to be with my daughter.
Being arrested for not sending your child to school might seem harsh to some, but to others, it's justice.
Take them to jail. I've been to jail. It's not fun. Maybe they'll learn.
The parents were either charged with failure to send their child to school or contributing to the educational neglect of a child. Both are misdemeanors. They will be arraigned in court tomorrow morning. For now, reporting in Dayton, Elise Coulter, Fox 45 News.
Parents who don't have a history with the courts are charged with failure to send their kids to school and released. Now, if parents have prior charges or don't have their kids enrolled in school, they're charged with contributing to educational neglect. On that charge, a parent could face up to 6 months in jail.
Well, this is our question of the day. What punishment should parents face for not sending their kids to school? You can go on fox45now.com or our Facebook page, facebook.com/fox45Dayton.
And we'll answer that question in a moment. So what should be the punishment for parents? Well, jail could be the last resort, but I think parenting classes would be great. And there's plenty of people out there who could say, no, I don't want to go. Jail may not be a good idea. I think it's really good. It's going to teach you guys a lesson. But parenting classes is the big problem here. Big issue here. That is my answer. And on Wednesday, I'm going to tell you how you can be prepared for truancy court. If you're not prepared, we'll give you an example. That's all for the second half of Give Me a Break. We'll see you again Give Me a Break Wednesday. We'll always here at YouTube. Have a good night.